Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein is a long gestating passion project he finally was able to bring to fruition with Netflix. I just saw it yesterday at Alamo Drafthouse, Anthony, and I found it to be astounding filmmaking, remarkable storytelling from a master of his craft, great performances. I love the music. I love the production design as always, and I really enjoyed this film. And also, the dill popcorn at Alamo Drafthouse fucking slaps.
Do you think, is Guillermo del Toro getting better with every movie? It's just like, this guy is really such an incredible filmmaker, and Frankenstein is absolutely, without a doubt, one of the best films of the year so far. I loved this film.
You saw it on film,
I saw it,
right?
I saw it at the Egyptian Theater in LA, projected on 35 millimeter, and it looked fantastic.
I missed it
so
there.
good.
And the Egyptian is the theater that Netflix owns and renovated. It's right on Hollywood Boulevard, on the same, pretty close to the TCL. But I wish I saw it in film projection because it's so beautifully shot. And, you know, Guillermo del Toro, I think, is maybe the best, one of the true masters of world building in cinema and in film. Not many people are able, I think, to actually build worlds that fully immerse you in them, that are wholly unique. You know, I think Denis Villeneuve with the Dune franchise is a great example of another big blockbuster filmmaker that can do it as well. Even Spielberg with every film he makes. But Guillermo's are so unique. He's such an auteur. He's got his own very specific style. Like, for example, when the camera crane dolly track goes through the front doors of the tower for the first time and it's about to turn, I'm like, there's going to be a staircase right there. Like, there's going to be a big staircase leading upstairs. He's got his motifs. He's got his little quirks and his the similarities between his films. But he's such a great artist and visionary. And he's, I think, one of the few filmmakers that can truly visualize a whole world inside their own head and then recreate it with his incredible cast and crew.
Yeah, and he turned the Frankenstein story into a gothic romance with great undertones of fatherhood. And it's not just gods and monsters this time. And this is an incredibly accurate adaptation of the novel, but also he brought in a lot of great new elements. So Kenneth Branagh probably made this, like, beat for beat most accurate adaptation of the novel, with his Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, starring himself as Frankenstein, and then De Niro played the creature, and then Helena Bonham Carter played the Elizabeth character. That was very much beat for beat. And this film, also very close to the novel, but he brought in this idea of fathers and sons, and Guillermo brought that in from himself. He did this. I saw this great interview where he talked about he saw himself in Victor Frankenstein, and as a father, he saw the mistakes he made with his children. And he, in the past several years, worked through that with his family, and he put that into the Frankenstein character. And you see that with the way that Frankenstein treats the monster, trying to belittling him, and then being frustrated with him, like a father being frustrated with his little kids. So I thought that was so great to add that father element to the film. And it's not just about playing God. It's not just about creating a monster, but it's about a familial relationship that these two characters should have. And if you haven't read the novel or seen any of those adaptations, and you watch this trailer or you watch this movie and you see the creature is highly intelligent and he speaks eloquently and he has so much independence and he has a huge journey, that is all in the novel. The creature gains intelligence from watching this family from afar, hiding in their shed, and learns about the world, learns language, and then it's basically like a back and forth of the creature versus Frankenstein for the second half of that novel. And it really does, like in this film, the whole story in the novel is structured upon this Arctic environment where Frankenstein details the story of his life to the captain of the ship. These are all things that are in the novel, and Guillermo del Toro did an unbelievable job putting that onto the screen. I was so immersed in the film. How about that opening scene of the attack? Holy shit.
Visceral.
Insane.
Incredible sound design. Action was fantastic. So much great wire work. Stunts were sensational.
I was like
an
jaw
incredible opening scene. And I like the nonlinear story structure, especially with the first half of the film and like chronicling and going back and telling the story, which that doesn't always work in movies. When you have a character or two characters at this point telling a story of the past, sometimes it doesn't work very well. But I think that Guillermo's pacing and his editing is done so well. It's a long movie. I will say, when it said part 2 about 90 minutes into the film, I audibly gasped. I was like, oh my God, this is
the creature's tale.
How many parts are going to be in this movie? I got somewhere to be later. But I'm just kidding, because I'll sit all day in a Guillermo del Toro world. but it's fantastic. And I think the editing and pacing was really done super well, especially with a long tail. And to have your characters, the opening and the end being bookended, as well as this is the last part of their lives and the journey, and obviously ending, I guess we can spoil now, the ending of the film where they come to terms with their past and the creature forgives Frankenstein. He forgives Victor and accepts him as a father, as well as Victor accepts the creature as a son. It's a really powerful and poetic ending to the story of two polar opposites. And yes, father-son is a great motif between the two characters, but there's still that God complex with Victor, especially someone whose genius is undone by his hubris by the end of the film. And by the end of the story with the creature, where he tries to burn down his tower, tries to destroy the monster, fails, obviously, which leads to him hunting the monster down as they kind of play cat and mouse game to fuck with each other.
Across the globe.
Yeah, which is really interesting. But at the end of the day, there is that great motif of gods and the creation of gods, as well as fathers and their creation and their sons.
Yeah, and the son is a big motif in this film as well, where upon his birth, Victor shows him the sun through the window, and it's the first time the creature ever gazes upon that shining light in the galaxy. And then the film ends with the sunset and embracing the warmth of the sun, the light of the sun again. So I thought that was a great bookend of the film. And I gotta tell you, Oscar Isaac and Jacob Elordi are outstanding in this film. I love what Oscar brought to the accent, to there's like this kind of like rock star quality to Frankenstein, especially when he's doing his thing. He has a lot of fun with his work. He's tormented, but also he's extremely passionate. He's got this kinetic energy to him. And I love the sequence of when he starts building the monster, they turned it into a waltz. Alexander Desplat did the score. It's one of his best in recent years. And they turned this beautiful sequence of 3 minutes of Victor taking body parts and tying them and severing them and what have you in his laboratory. And it was this beautiful waltz music, and it was like he was dancing and having fun. I really love that. I love what Oscar brought to the role. But Jacob Elordi absolutely blew me away. I was really stunned by him and what he did with this character. And I never looked at this character as a monster. It always felt like he brought a great humanity to it. And it never felt like a creature, really, even though it looked like a creature. And I really like what they did where, upon its birth, the creature is like a baby. It's like a toddler. And they even wrapped him in this. He's got like this diaper wrapping, and he's just wearing that. And it looks like he's just a baby wearing a diaper. And I think that was all purposeful. And he's trying to be educated, but Victor's trying to educate him, but it's not going. But the way Elordi's physicality is very baby-like a toddler who has no coordination and barely knows how to walk, and this very innocent naivety to it before growing into adulthood, you could say. And then when he's bringing in the intelligence and intellect of the creature, the tragedy of it, the power of its loss, and then its need for vengeance and its need for someone to live with, he really broke my heart with his performance.
He brought a bolt of lightning to the character, of energy, of rage that we quite not have seen before in a nuanced way. We've seen an angry Frankenstein destroying things, super powerful. But this one was different, and I think Elordi did a great job in coming in last minute because Andrew Garfield was supposed to play the creature in the film. Had to drop it, I think, a couple weeks before filming, right?
9 weeks before filming.
Okay, so 9 weeks before.
But they had prepped all the bodysuits. They had prepped all the prosthetics. It was everything was already built for our Garfield.
So they had to redo it all because Elordi's probably, 6'5"? He's a tall guy.
6'4",
He's a very tall guy, which I think worked so well at the creature because Frankenstein, I think, works best as this massive monster. And I love the rage aspect of it, the power, the ferocity.
I see the League of Shadows.
Insurgent, resurgent. Dark Knight Rises. And I think he's fantastic, as well as the rest of the cast as well. We have Mia Goth playing Elizabeth, as well as she plays the mother of young Victor, who passes away in childbirth to his brother. Well, Mia Goth as Elizabeth, his brother's fiancée, who Victor has this interesting connection to. The resemblance to his mother adds that Freudian-esque relationship. She blends great quiet in fragility with strength. She's interesting. She's into bugs. Christoph Waltz was also superb in this film. He plays Professor Waldman in a really interesting performance, very sardonic, sort of a pseudo mentor, father figure in a way to Victor, but also funds all of his research because he sees the potential of Victor's research, what he shows at the showcase in front of the other doctors and scientists of reanimating flesh and tissue. But I think it was sort of not predictable, but obviously he has ulterior motives where he himself wants to be put inside the body that Victor Frankenstein is going to reanimate with his brain.
Well, I think the character worked really well because what Victor does requires an enormous amount of money. And so I like the addition of adding this character and giving him a way to fund his research and build all of this. Because the contraptions are gigantic in all the other movies, and you're like, did he do all this by himself? So I really like that element. And a difference with the Elizabeth character from the novel is, in the novel, she grew up with Victor, and she was never engaged to his brother. She grew up adopted by the family as like a kind of like a stepsister, not by birth, but then Victor and her were basically destined to be married, and we're supposed to, they talked about it, like we'll be married one day. So the relationship between them in the novel is very much so like we should be married, but we're not married because Victor was lost in his work. And in this one, she comes to him from her brother, being engaged to her brother in the film. And I love the elements of Gothic romance in this film, but it also opens up and makes Victor way more empathizable, way more human, to see that he's in love with a woman. He's willing to throw it all away for her. So I really like the change of the Elizabeth character. If you're going to change it, I think they did a great job with it. There's so much tragedy in the creature, and you really see it in this film. And one of my favorite scenes is when, and it's different from the book, is when Frankenstein is shot by the locals. When he's been
creature?
Yeah, when the creature is shot by those men. He's been living in the shed of that farm family, learning language, learning intelligence, learning dynamics between people and socializing. And the grandfather's blind. And then when the family goes off for a little bit, he goes to bond with the grandfather, and they spend weeks together. And the grandfather, not ever seeing what the creature looks like, thinks he's just really an innocent runaway, which technically the creature is. But then the old man is attacked by wolves, and the creature defeats the wolves, but then the men come upon him, and they're like, oh, you killed our grandfather, and they start shooting him, and he almost gets away, but they shoot him dead. And the creature, he dies, he stops breathing, but then he reanimates. He comes back to life. That was, I think, one of the best scenes in the film, because it did showcase that the creature is like a zombie. He can't die. And that's the tragedy of it, is it cannot die. No matter what you do to it, it'll come back to life. And I liked how it wasn't like indestructible like previous iterations, where you can't like physically kill it. But I love how they showed him die and then reanimate back to life. And it's a little different from the novel. In the novel, he's hanging out with the grandpa, and the family walks in, and they're terrified of him, and he runs away. So I like the element of having him get killed by these men, and then he reanimates back to life in the snow.
It's great, and I think the concept and idea of him not being able to die was so fascinating, and something that plagues him and that he can't stand and he can't bear with, because he can't die because of what's been done to him, but he also can't live because of how he looks, how he was created. People don't look at him and see a human, they see a monster. So he can't die and he can't live. He's in a limbo of no identity at all, unexistence as this creature, as this monster. He can't live as a human even though he wants to. You know, he's learning the language, he's learning culture, he's learning friendship.
Yeah.
But that leads to him asking for a companion, hunting down Victor to ask for a companion to live with somebody. Because losing the old man who became his friend, he lost everything that day. He lost what made him, in his eyes, human to an extent. And I really like the idea of not being able to die, as well as exploring the source of energy, the source of reanimation, the source of regeneration for healing with the lymphatic system in this version of Frankenstein. You know, there's actual legit explanation, which for the audience we accept, of stored eternal energy through the lymphatic system that is used with the lightning bolt shock, which is always interesting because there's never been great detailed explanations of why the lightning bolt suddenly gives this creature life, besides you just accept it. It's what it's always been like, especially growing up, knowing the story and seeing the cartoons and the old movies. Just lightning created life. As a kid, I always thought you can just do that with anything. But Guillermo adding that in the lymphatic system, exploring that as this other fifth system of human bodies and human anatomy. And I love the biological aspects of this film and the exploration of the human body and the dissections and everything, which is so gross but so cool at the same time. But to give us an explanation of how Frankenstein can live forever, how can he reanimate from the dead, how can he regenerate, and using the lymphatic system with the stored energy from the lightning strike is great.
I believed it.
Yeah.
I was like,
worked for me.
I was like, cool, let's go.
Worked for me.
And this movie, it's a Guillermo del Toro film.
This is also a fictional fifth system.
Yeah. It's a Guillermo del Toro film. It's rated R. You get the blood. You get the gore. There's a lot of great shit in this movie. People are getting torn to pieces. Christoph Waltz's death is brutal when he lifts him up and his skull is just broken and bloodied and brains falling out.
Nasty.
You get the gore that you want from a great horror film. It's an incredible blend of, it's beautiful and romantic, but then also it's gruesome at the same time. And I can't think of a director that can balance those things like Guillermo does. Like, it's unbelievable how he's able to do so much with his storytelling and the craftsmanship of this movie. The sets, man, they built that ship. They built all these interiors. I love the design of the tower laboratory, and because the sun, I think, is an important element to the story that Guillermo put into the film. You see so much of the sun in the cinematography in the background. So many of the scenes are lit through sunlight, even through windows. So I always felt the presence of the sun in this film, which I think he wanted to really showcase how important that theme of rebirth was, of life was, the life through the sun. And I really felt that in every scene.
And I think I felt so much in this movie because of the incredible practical filmmaking, the incredible production design of the locations, the real sets that they built, the laboratory sets, the tower, the interiors, the exteriors. Some of the exteriors were CGI, obviously, but to actually build these massive, massive sets adds so much to it. And then the prosthetic work for Jacob Elordi as the creature in Frankenstein was astounding. And, he would spend at times 10 hours just to get the prosthetic and makeup work done, especially because a lot of the sequences, he's basically fully nude, full body prosthetics, aside from the bandaging he wears around his waist and his wrists and hands. And he would get to set at 10 p.m. at night, and he would stay up all night as the prosthetics were applied to him, and then he would shoot, basically working 20-hour days consistently for a lot of the production, which just goes to show you the commitment he put into this performance, into the role, as well as for him saying that it felt in his life the most comfortable he was in a performance, because I think for him, he's just a natural performer, likes to live in the world, likes to live in his character. And I'm sure that all that time in the makeup chair, in the prosthetic chair, helped him so much get into character of mentally putting himself in the shoes and actually the skin of Frankenstein, of this creature, of this monster, just watching it get applied for hours and hours and hours on end, and enjoying the process, not complaining once. According to Guillermo del Toro, didn't complain at all, didn't ask to leave, didn't say he was tired, but gave it his all every single day. Guillermo called him superhuman, and I think that's a huge testament to Jacob Elordi, the selflessness for the role and for the production to do what it takes to get the role done.
Complete commitment. You felt that in the performance, and I really like the design of the creature in this film, because something that happens a lot with the Frankenstein adaptations is the creature will see its reflection and be horrified by itself, and that's one of the big conflicts with it, how it appears. And you don't really see that in this film. It's more curious, and his conflict is deeper than just appearance. So I love that aspect. And the creature design, it was more simplistic, and it wasn't as grotesque as other adaptations. The De Niro one is really disturbing. Like, he's literally got staples across his entire face, and it's just like really, really gross to look at. But Guillermo, he did an excellent job, and there are deep scars, the lines of deep scars, but he wasn't horribly off-putting to look at. And in some ways, he looked kind of cute, especially when he behaved like a child.
Yeah.
He was a little cute monster, cute creature. But it really was the eyes, and it was the physical performance of Elordi that really made him feel not like a monster. But I think that the design, they went with minimalism, they went simplistic, and I really liked it. I think it's one of the best Frankenstein's creature looks ever put on film.
I do too, especially a younger performer in the role, as well as, I think, like you said, tying to the infancy of the character. It's very reminiscent in ways to Poor Things of Emma Stone, like starting as an infant and getting intelligence and becoming a woman. Same thing happens to Victor in this film, because they both are called Victor, which is really interesting. And Victor, I like the aesthetic of the long hair. I like the physicality of the role in terms of a lot of almost partially nude sequences to show the true nature of the creature and really emphasize consistently how he's been put together by other pieces of men. And I think Guillermo had a lot of fun with some campy moments here and there, like especially when he goes to the execution sequence and starts inspecting the men who are about to be hung. Oh, this one's got a strong back. That'll play well.
Let me see you over your mouth. No, you'll be dead. You'll be dead in a month. You're lucky to be hung.
You're lucky to be hung. You'll be dead in a year. So I think that was really fun and campy. There are some great jokes in this movie, great moments of humor and brevity. But also, I think, like you said, he really tapped into the father-son elements as well as a frustrated father, less of a creator, more of a father who really is doing everything he thinks he should be doing to raise the monster as an intelligent being, but not understanding, like Elizabeth does, that there's nurture that needs to be involved, because sometimes relying only on one parental figure, whether it's a mother or father, can limit the development of the child.
Yeah, and I think that's why the Charles Dance father character had such a substantial role in the film, and why we spend so much time with Victor as a child and his mother dying, and then Charles Dance's Frankenstein being a strict disciplinarian and forceful educator. And it didn't work for Victor. And I saw Guillermo talking about this he saw himself, his father and himself as a father, and it made him change. He said he looked in the mirror and he saw his father, and it terrified him. So he put that into this film where Victor became his father the way he was raising the creature. He was raising the creature with forceful discipline, with abuse, with anger, with frustration, with contempt. And he was not raising... The creature needed to be raised with love and affection and respect. But Victor never showed the creature that. And that's why the creature never learned. And then once the creature saw love through the family on the farm, he saw their affection for one another. He was able to absorb all the information necessary to have intelligence and be able to speak and understand, because he learned through love from the family's love for each other. And then again, the connection with Elizabeth, teaching him her name because she showed him respect and gave him the information with nurturing.
And it's also really interesting to have Elizabeth, who obviously resembles so much Victor's mother, Victor selfishly wanting Elizabeth for himself in a way that he believes he deserves or wants, taking her from his brother. But at the end of the day, at the end of the film, in the story for Elizabeth, she chooses the creature, who's also named Victor, who in a way is Victor's son, and he accepts him as his son later on. So it's this crazy Oedipus Freudian situation where, out of longing for his mother, Victor, the doctor, falls for Elizabeth, but Elizabeth doesn't fall for Victor, but instead she falls for Victor's son, the creature. It's this crazy zigzag.
Ridiculous. And there's a shot in the movie, it was my favorite shot, because it's deeply emotional, and it's the creature learned language from the family, and he was attacked and survived, and he journeyed back to the tower where he was created to find answers. And the tower's in ruins, and there's snow everywhere, so he starts looking through the wreckage, and he finds one of the tintype photos that Christoph Waltz's character took of him before he was reanimated, and he sees his face, but it's dead. There's no life to it. And Guillermo shot it through the photo, so the camera looks at we see the photo, and it's placed in front of the creature's face from our perspective. And for me, that was the biggest, most powerful moment of the film, where he finally understood what he was, how he was created. And it was tragic to know that, to come to the terms and learn the knowledge that you're a lab experiment, that you were made, you're a monster, you aren't a human. And I thought that was, without a doubt, the greatest moment of this film, I would say.
That is a great shot. There's a couple of great small performances in this movie. Ralph Ineson's in this. He plays one of the professors at the science institute that he puts on his demonstration. But also, I loved seeing David Bradley in this film. Now, he's famous for playing Argus Filch in the Harry Potter franchise. He plays the old blind man.
Oh my god!
Oh, you didn't pick up on that?
Oh no!
Yeah, he's great.
God.
He also plays the blind man in theatrical versions of the story.
Wow.
But that's him. Yeah,
Wow.
I thought you'd be able to tell from his voice right away.
Wow.
But yeah, he plays the blind man who
That's
becomes Victor's only and first friend.
Amazing.
As well as teaching him the words. And when you talked about him earlier, the blind man, and you saying that they called him something of the forest, the
Spirit of the forest.
Spirit of the forest. I think that intuitively he knew there was something different about Victor. I think he knew that Victor was, in a way, not fully human in normal standards. And I think that he's an intelligent person who understood that, especially when he was feeling the scarring on his facing and the conversations they had. And I think he understood that he wasn't a normal man, that he was created. And obviously Victor goes to discover, because he can't remember anything really. He lost the memory of what happened to him until he goes to visit the castle, the ruins of the tower, and discovers the documentation proving and just showing him who he was and how he was created. And then going back to the old man, unfortunately being torn apart by wolves. But also when Victor fought the wolves,
It's great.
brutal. When he skinned that wolf with his hands,
Pulled one of the spines out too.
insanely cool.
Yeah. So that was one of the changes to the novel that I think improved it. Because like I said in the novel, he really just spends like an hour with the old man before the family shows up. And they're like, oh my God, get away from it. Kill it. It's a monster. In the film, they had, it looks like, at least 2 months of bonding. And I thought that worked so well in this film. And there was a great change to the original story. And I thought it was sensational. And there was something I was worried he would do that Kenneth Branagh did, where Kenneth Branagh's film, after Elizabeth dies, he turned, because Frankenstein's in love with Elizabeth. He creates her. He reanimates her, so she becomes the bride that we've seen in previous iterations. So Elizabeth becomes a bride, and I was like, I hope that he doesn't do it in this film, and I'm glad he didn't. I think that the Elizabeth creature story ended really well, and I think that it would have been too much if he created another monster in this movie.
There's also a great parallel between the two Victors. And what's really interesting is, as the creature's created, he's viewed as a monster and a creature, and starts slunched over, can't really stand up straight, can't really walk. But as the film progresses, he does stand up straight, he does walk, he becomes more human. Whereas Victor, the doctor, has the opposite direction, where he's standing on his 2 feet, but he loses a leg, he becomes more slouched over, depending on a cane, less human by the end of the film. And so they kind of have opposite trajectories, where the monster becomes more human, and the human is really kind of, at the end of the day, the real monster.
How about that dynamite scene?
He's
like, run.
That was
my
amazing.
God, that was awesome.
Amazing.
That was so good. It was so good.
Yeah, and again, that worked so well with the nonlinear storytelling, with the great opening of the explosion, the great fights, the attack. That was sensational. And then from there on, telling the story from Victor's point of view, and then from the creature's point of view.
Yeah, and that's in the novel. In the novel, it opens with Victor with the sled horses in the Arctic, chasing the creature down. In the ship, being freed by the creature at the end, I think was really great. And so, did you recognize the captain of the ship?
No, I didn't. I couldn't.
Maz's brother.
Oh, he does look like
Yeah.
Maz.
So he was in House of Cards. If you remember, he played the Russian prime minister in House of Cards. He's been in a ton of stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Can't remember his first name, but he's Mads Mikkelsen's brother.
Lars
Mikkelsen, yeah.
Yes. Oh, he
great.
looks so much like him. Yeah.
He was great in it. He was really good casting for that. I love the movie, and I'm glad I read the novel a month ago in anticipation for this film, and the novel surprised me with how different it was from most of the adaptations put on screen. And then it got me so excited. And then I love like reading a novel right before seeing an adaptation. If you have time to do it, it's a really great thing to do. And I think Guillermo did something incredible with it. He was very faithful, but also he made his own version of it while respecting the source material in as incredible of a way as possible. I loved everything about the film. It's one of the best of the year. I think that Guillermo is just really one of the most impressive filmmakers currently working today. And the acting was phenomenal. The costume design, I think this is going to win costume design.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to win production design, I would say, too. Probably cinematography. I think it's beautifully photographed. It's so well shot. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get a couple Oscar nominations for acting in this film, too.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jacob gets one.
Yeah.
Or Oscar. Fantastic film from a master at his craft. I was so excited to see this. I'm so glad I caught it in theaters before it leaves its brief run. But it's on Netflix. Did huge numbers. But if you can't see it in a theater, I can't recommend it enough. It's a fantastic film. Thanks for tuning into this great episode of Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Be sure to do all the things that help our show. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Do the same. Leave those reviews. Patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast to help pay our bills, basically, or subscribe to our content. We have bonus content for you, Discord access, watch parties, all kinds of cool things happening, but we can't do our show without Patreon. So go there for extra bonus content, bonus episodes. In the meantime, take care.
See you next time.